My fiancé doesn't respect my daughter, and now she thinks she has the right to exclude her from my wedding. This wedding is over. My fiancé and I are getting married soon. I have a young teen daughter who's supposed to be my best woman at our wedding. We told my daughter she could buy any dress she loved, so I took her shopping and she chose a dress. We returned home and my fiancé was furious because apparently the dress was inappropriate. We got into a fight about it, and I told her she has no right to shame my daughter and doesn't get a say in what she should wear. She was sulking for a day because then the next day the dress was gone. She got rid of it so my daughter wouldn't wear it. My daughter didn't say anything, but we found the wedding dress torn in pieces and completely unfixable the next day. My daughter shrugged and said it was inappropriate, so she got rid of it. My fiancé was crying for a day because she'd spent a long time looking for that dress and loved it. Now my fiancé wants a child-free wedding, which is another way of saying she wants to uninvite my daughter. I told her she could have a child-free wedding with someone else because the wedding is off if my daughter isn't in it. Now she thinks I'm an idiot. Am I the idiot? Edit, my daughter likes making people hate her. I need to get married eventually. This is the fourth fiancé I will break up with, thanks to my daughter. It was a red dress, since our wedding's theme is red and black. My fiancé got rid of my daughter's dress. My daughter shredded my fiancé's dress. I paid for both. My fiancé is definitely going to pay for both of the dresses since she was responsible for both. Are you foolish? Your partner and your daughter dislike each other to the point of calling each other names and destroying each other's property out of spite. They want to hurt each other, and you want to turn them into a dysfunctional family. Yes, you are the idiot. Your daughter likes making people hate her. What? Are you pleased with her determination to make people hate her? Why is she focused on making people hate her? She is your responsibility and you love your daughter, so move heaven and earth to be her hero and get her the help that she needs. Don't get married. Your daughter is unstable and needs therapy, and you are trying to get married for all the wrong reasons. Do you need to get married in the next 4 years? And you wait until your daughter no longer needs to live with you and sabotages all your relationships. Good grief, please stop. He needs to be married. You know, so he has someone else to put all of the household responsibilities on, like raising his daughter. Dads like this are terrible. This is the most common defense mechanism in kids with attachment issues you'll ever see. The daughter is not stable. She's terrified and seeking control over relationships by forcing a rejection they see as inevitable. She absolutely needs therapy. I wonder how much of the daughter's behavior is because of poor parenting. 4 fiancés in a few years? How well could Opie really know them if there are so many in such a short time? And why are they meeting the daughter so soon when she's obviously unhappy with her dad dating? It kind of sounds like Opie needs to stop thinking about getting intimate and start thinking about parenting his daughter and hopefully getting both family therapy and individual therapy for the daughter. There's obviously more going on here. Opie, stay single. Stop wasting the lives of all the poor women who fall in love with you. I, 26 female, have been dating a fantastic man, 39 male, for almost 6 months now. He's divorced and has a daughter pre-tween female. She's a great kid and I love her. Last night he told me he had a very important work meeting and wasn't going to be able to pick up his daughter from her playdate at her friend's house today. I volunteered to pick her up, take her back to my place, where he's been too many times, and watch her until he got back because I work at home and it wouldn't be a problem. He was okay with this and dropped off her booster seat with me earlier today. I had to take care of some work before it was time to pick her up, and it ended up taking longer than I had expected. I looked at the clock and saw that it was past the time to pick her up from her friend's house. I knew installing the booster seat would take up even more time, so I just went and picked her up without it. When I picked up his daughter, she asked why her booster seat wasn't there, and I told her she was going to ride without it today and she'd be fine. She was very quiet the entire drive, which seemed odd to me because she's usually a very talkative kid. When my boyfriend got back, his daughter hugged him and told him that I didn't have her booster seat. He confronted me about this, and I told him I lost track of time, so I just picked her up without it. He was furious with me. He said it was so irresponsible of me to not have her booster seat for her, and that I put her in danger. I tried to calm him down and say how sorry I was, but he didn't want to hear it. He took his daughter home and hasn't responded to my calls or texts since. I also received a call from his ex-wife, where she expressed how upset she was at me for putting her daughter in danger. I didn't think it would turn out to be such an issue. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Your first mistake was not ensuring you were on time to pick her up when you were responsible for that. Set an alarm to make sure you have time to put her in the seat and pick her up on time. Then you get to the friend's house, and I'm sure it would have been fine with the friend's parents if you spent a few moments putting in the booster seat in the driveway before you left. Heck, they may have even helped you. She's acting like she went to pick up an inanimate object. It looked and sounded weird when I picked it up, but I just drove home and didn't really give a damn to check up on it after. She not only doesn't know anything about children and their safety, which is funny to me because a kid knows better, but also sounds like she doesn't even care. I wonder how the little kid feels about her. Also, a pre-tween booster seat takes 2 seconds to put in the car as it doesn't have to be installed. Literally, just put it on the seat. OP, you don't grasp, or perhaps you do now, that safety is always the priority. You could have secured this seat in your car at any time prior to departing, but you chose not to. Your 6-month relationship trusted you with a most precious relationship, and you blew it. Endangering someone's child is a hugely lax decision. Glad the parents didn't tone down the heat to ensure you received corrective feedback. Own your mistake, ask for forgiveness, and explain what you will do differently in the future, which is the path forward. In March, I, a nearly adult male, learned that my mom isn't my biomom, but is my stepmom, and that my brother and sister are my step-siblings. I was only a toddler when my parents got married, so I don't remember a time before, and my biological mom doesn't want to know me, which means I never grew up with 2 moms or anything. I always assumed I was their biological kid. They basically said I was. I thought my siblings were blood siblings too. I knew they didn't call Dad Dad, so I figured they were half siblings but still siblings, which is why, growing up, I was so confused about why they hated me. They would get so angry at me for talking to them or breathing near them. They used to fight to not sit next to me at dinner, and fight over who'd sit next to me in the car. They'd say I wasn't their brother but never answered why. The only answer I'd get was I was pathetic and I was gross. They would kick me out of the TV and game room, because I wasn't allowed there if they wanted to do something. I was so confused. I looked up to them and so badly wanted them to be like the older siblings my friends had, or like my friends were with younger siblings. I cried about it. I asked my parents why. I asked my grandparents and extended family why. Nobody ever told me the truth. I also never understood why they hated Dad so much, though they never seemed to hate him as much as me. It did a number on the younger me. I still have some hang-ups from wanting my siblings to love me, being rejected every time, and being treated like they would catch something from sitting next to me. I started to question stuff when I needed my birth certificate and my parents wanted to bring it to school for me. So I searched it out and found it and saw Dad's name but not Mom's on there. I asked my parents. They admitted I was my mom's stepson and my sibling's stepson, and they hadn't liked that and hadn't liked my dad. They said they'd wanted me to love them so it would soften their hearts and let them accept me as a brother. My family didn't like me saying my parents had lied and being angry about it. They think I'm being unfair. They mentioned it a few times, but when they were over at our house a few days ago, I kind of lost it and called them out for lying too and keeping the truth from me. I told them everyone had left me in the dark and looking like an idiot about what my stepbrothers had meant. They said I expect too much from them. Am I the idiot? So your entire family knew, including your stepbrothers, who treated you like crap your whole life. Wow. You've been done dirty by your family. Shame on your parents for not looking out better for you by keeping your half-siblings in line. Shame on them for not telling you and trying to keep the facts away from you. Not the idiot. Please, 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 please find a therapist you can talk to. I'm so sorry. Your entire family is full of idiots. There was no way this wasn't going to come out. There's simply no reason not to let you know as much as they could as you grew up, because there's nothing wrong with the truth of the situation. They literally said that they thought if you believed your siblings were your natural siblings, you'd love them more, so then they'd accept you better? How could they not see that it certainly didn't work? They tried to force blend the family and their kids obviously resented it. I'm guessing these idiots did no better with them, and that's part of why they never quite warned you. They maybe told them it was all for you, that they had to be married so you'd have a mother, so they resented you and the situation all the more. Who knows what else these idiots have wrought? I, 25 male, proposed to my girlfriend of 10 years last month. We'd discussed getting engaged before, what we wanted to look like, and what we wanted the marriage to look like for us. One thing my fiancé Kaylee was upfront about was she would love to have her mom's engagement ring. Her maternal grandparents had it since her mom was terminally ill. She'd wanted it saved for Kylie, and Kaylee loved the idea of having her mom's ring, because it was something her mom designed. She never said I had to, but I knew how much it meant to her. She also clearly didn't want her dad's wife's, aka stepmother's, Ruth's ring. Kylie doesn't like Ruth. She doesn't view her as a stepmother or a real parent to her. She tolerates her because she doesn't want to lose her dad. But she said she would rather get engaged without her ring than have the one from Ruth. I always knew she didn't think much of the woman, so it came as no surprise to me. And I always knew I would turn it down if offered, even before Kaylee said anything, because her feelings for her were clear. Now here's the issue. I got the ring back in November and started planning the proposal. Around the end of November, Ruth questioned whether I had plans to propose. When I saw her one day, she asked me directly, and I said Kaylee and I had talked about it. She mentioned giving me her ring, and I told her thank you, but that wouldn't be necessary. And what followed was the solid 6 weeks of this woman trying to make me take the ring so I could propose. She never even got confirmation that I was proposing. But she was adamant. I started shopping in different stores to avoid her entirely. I thought proposing would be the end to Ruth's pressure, but she confronted me after the engagement and asked why I rejected her ring but used the other one. I told her Kaylee dreamed of her mom's ring. I was then scolded for referring to Kaylee's mom as her mom. Ruth told me she'd been mothering Kaylee since she was 6, and she's been there for every step of her life since, and she would have wanted her ring more. She told me I was selfish for denying Kaylee that. I told her that Kaylee didn't want her ring, and that it should come as no surprise that Kaylee wanted her mom's ring when her mom had been gone for a long time. Ruth then starts on a rant about how she's my future mother-in-law and the future grandmother of our children, and I should be careful how I speak to her because our kids do not deserve to grow up around such tension. She stormed off and complained to Kaylee's dad. He and Kaylee talked about it. Kaylee apologized for Ruth being odd and told me I did the right thing. However, some of Kaylee's paternal family believe I was wrong, and that I'm helping keep the gap between Kaylee and Ruth when, in an ideal world, I would encourage Kaylee to be more accepting of Ruth by treating Ruth with more respect and acting as though she's my mother-in-law. It doesn't help that Ruth still says I was so rude. Not the idiot. You absolutely did the right thing because you listened to your future wife and did what she asked. It stinks that the rest of the family is ganging up on you, but seriously, just tell them that you were proposing and you got to decide how to do it. Their input is neither needed nor necessary in this situation. Your fiancé's engagement ring is about your relationship with each other, not about her relationship with her stepmother. It's a shame your fiancé doesn't just wear her mother's ring as a remembrance, but that you guys didn't get your own ring as a symbol of your relationship. But using the ring she clearly cares for and represents so much to her is never an idiotic move. Her stepmother can cope. Changing rings isn't going to address the list of concerns other family members have presented to you. You're going to have an interesting time of things if your stepmother's expectations of you acting as though she's my mother-in-law mean you just do what she says, and in that case you're much better off standing your ground and doing your own thing. I'll keep this brief. My wife Julia and I have been married for a while. There's a friend of mine at work, Aiden, who visited my house yesterday. He'd never seen Julia before but knew that we were married. The gist is this. When he saw her, his first response was, "Oh, so that's your partner, is it?" I was very offended since I consider it a ridiculous term. I think it's both formal, which shouldn't be the case for a romantic relationship, and lacks warmth. I snapped, "No, she's my wife Julia." Aiden seemed surprised and said, "Yeah, that's what I meant, she's your partner." I retorted that I didn't want him to use that term when referring to her relationship with me, since we're not business partners. Julia was offended as well. I didn't want to make a big deal, but he just doubled down. He said he had no idea what I was talking about, and that I couldn't police his language. I asked him whether he thinks that a romantic relationship is just a business-like transaction. The upshot is that I demanded an apology, which he refused to give, and he continued spouting that garbage. In the end, I kicked him out. He called us crazy lunatics as he left, and some other people were angry as well. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Also, I'm baffled you have friends and a wife. You lost your temper because he used a word commonly used for significant others and you think a partner is only businesslike. What do you think gay people call their so when they can't get married? Partner. So you essentially just insulted all of them. Just because you have some weird hang-ups about a word doesn't make the definition of said word suddenly different. And if you hadn't snapped from the get-go, he might have been more receptive to your request. In a good marriage, your spouse is your partner. OP is being a weirdo. Dude, this is just semantics and you are overreacting majorly. I've been married for 20 years and I often refer to my spouse as my partner, significant other, or husband. They all mean the same thing. You need to get a grip. Yikes. Wow, you don't consider your marriage a partnership. You could have calmly said we prefer the terms husband and wife and left it alone. Or you could have said nothing because there was nothing to be offended by. But no, you decided to confront him for using a gender-neutral term because you wanted to be offended. Find a hobby.